Gail, you ready?
Every little pour.
All right. Well, good evening, everyone. Happy New Year. Welcome to the Oviedo City Council meeting. It is Monday, January 5th, 2015. If everybody can rise for the Pledge of Allegiance, and Councilman Henkin's going to lead us in. Huh? What, your kids want you?
Yeah, tell them.
All right, hang on a second. Councilman Henkin, you're no longer doing it. Emily and Ethan, come on up. Dad says that you have to do it.
I just want to torture myself.
I just went along with his idea. I thought it was a great one. All righty, guys. It's all yours. Good job. Thank you, guys.
What, no violin?
Get you later.
That's right. Mom could have had the violin to it. No. We only get that at Christmas Eve? One time a year? Well, you guys were awesome Christmas Eve. I heard lots of comments as I was walking around the church on how well the performance was. Moving along, we have our invocation. Oh, look at him. He's all ready. Chief White, you are up. Thank you, sir.
Happy New Year.
Same to you, Chief.
Thank you for your attendance earlier at our ceremony very much. If you would care to join us in prayer, please do so at this time. Father God, we come to you in this new year, and we look back and we are so grateful for the blessings that you've bestowed on this community. And Lord, we pray for a successful and a healthy and safe new year for all of our employees. And we thank the governor so much for recognizing first responders this week and his reflection of that. Father God, we pray for those families that had suffered some tragedies over the past week or so, that you would comfort them and heal them and give them a peace that they so desperately seek. And Father God, we pray for the new fire station and this construction project, that all goes well and all these subcontractors and contractors fulfill their jobs faithfully and dutifully. And Lord, we think of how many lives will be impacted from this new facility. And we pray all this in your name. Amen.
Amen. Chief, I have a letter here from the governor's office about the First Responder Appreciation Week. Mr. Groot also has a proclamation that they just sent us.
Oh, okay.
So we're going to get this on the agenda for next week. Why don't you take this and you guys can hang on to it? You're welcome. And it'll be on the next agenda. All righty, next order of business we have are the oaths of office for the the re-elected. We have our Deputy Mayor Cindy Drago, Councilmember Schenk, and Councilmember Britton. Mr. Groot, why don't I turn this part of it over to you? Councilman Henkin and I will go join the audience, and you can all get sworn in. Thank you, sir. Deputy Mayor Drago.
I state your name, solemnly swear. I will support, protect, and defend the Constitution and government of the United States. Of Florida, the city of Oviedo. All enemies, domestic and foreign. That I will bear true faith, loyalty, and allegiance to the same. That I am entitled to hold the office council member under the Constitution. I will faithfully perform the duties of the office of council member. Oviedo. South Connecticut. Public guidance. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Councilmember Shank. Put your left hand on the Bible. Raise your right hand. And repeat after me. I state your name, do solemnly swear
I, Stephen Shea, solemnly swear
that I will support, protect, and defend
that I will support
the constitutions and governments of the United States,
the Constitution of the United
state of Florida, and the city of Oviedo,
States, the state of Florida, and the state of Virginia,
against all enemies, domestic and foreign,
against all enemies,
that I will bear true faith,
and that I will bear true faith,
loyalty, and allegiance to the same,
loyalty, and allegiance,
that I am entitled to hold the office
that I am entitled to hold the office
council member under the Constitution,
of council member under the Constitution,
that I will faithfully perform the duties of council member
and that I will faithfully perform the duties of council member
of the city of Oviedo,
of the city of Oviedo,
which I am about to enter.
which I am about to enter.
So help me God. Congratulations, sir. Mike?
I don't remember this being this long before.
We can make it longer if you'd like. You prepared to take your oath, sir? Sir. Raise your right hand.
Have the microphone.
You don't. Thank you. Left hand on the Bible, right hand up, please. I state your name, do solemnly swear
I, Keith Britton, solemnly swear
that I will support, protect, and defend
that I will support and protect
the constitutions and governments of the United States,
the Constitution and governments of the United States,
state of Florida, and the city of Oviedo,
the state of Florida,
against all enemies, domestic and foreign,
against all enemies, domestic and foreign,
that I will bear true faith,
that I will bear true faith,
loyalty, and allegiance to the same,
loyalty, and allegiance to the same,
that I am entitled to hold the office
that I am entitled to hold the office
of council member under the Constitution,
of council member of the Constitution,
that I will faithfully perform the duties of the office of council member
council member
of the city of Oviedo,
of the city of Oviedo,
which I am about to enter.
which I am about to enter.
So help me God. Congratulations, sir. Councilmember Britton.
I gotta bring it in for you one day, the little Jubilee trophy.
Yeah.
So you can see it.
Linda, there's some folks in the conference room that wanted to address the council. Could you just let them know we're just about there? All right, next order of business that we have are, well, first off, congratulations to everybody on the reelection, and you certainly all served the city extremely well, and we're just grateful to have everybody up here and doing the job that we all do. It's a pleasure to be able to sit in the middle with the four of you, so it includes you. Thank you. All righty, moving along, we're up to item number 2, ceremonial items. We do not have any this evening. The approval of the minutes is the next item. That's item number 3, and that's the approval of the minutes for December 1, 2014. I'd like to entertain a motion to do so, please.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion on the minutes? Does anybody remember what we did over a month ago? Good. Thank goodness we have the minutes. All right, seeing none, I'll call the vote. All in favor of the motion, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Moving on to the public comment portion of our meeting, I do have two written requests that I will start with this evening. And the first written request I have is from Diane Little. Mrs. Little, good evening. We
Good
just need you
evening.
to state your name and address for the record first.
Sure.
And then you have 3 minutes, and it's all yours.
Okay. Thank you so very much. My name is Diane Little. Currently, I live at 201 Wilkes Drive in Monroe, North Carolina, right outside of Charlotte. I'm a former resident of Oviedo. I moved here in 92 and lived here for 14 years while my husband was in the Navy. So I love Oviedo. I know it. I remember when there was no mall and no Red Book Lake Road. I came here tonight. My mom still lives here. She lives in Horton Road. And now she won't speak, but I'll do it for her. And
Oh, she will, because I'm going to call her.
we just spoke to Deputy Chief Coleman, and he was very helpful. She asked me to come before the council just in case there were other people who were having this problem with noise to the level of a nuisance, not just nuisance, but offensive music that's being played out of someone's garage over at 1007 Horton Court. And it's offensive. If it was teenagers, we might be able to handle it. However, it's grown men that live in this house. This is an unlicensed motorcycle that they're riding around. We live in a heart-shaped cul-de-sac, so that there's no thoroughfares, one way in, one way out. We have over 12 families with children, and just the other day, as we were cleaning out my mom's garage, I pulled her car out to the driveway, and the guy had a wreck right there in front of the house. They didn't knock over the Sega Palm, but they bruised the Sega Palm and came within 11 inches of her car. We've had it. My mom shouldn't be subjected to this. And I think that I don't know the ordinances because I knew them years ago. Actually, I did a study on Oviedo for growth study at Columbia College. And so I don't know if the ordinances have changed, but I do know that the residents who live there who have asked us to come and talk, they've had it. They've really had it. And like I said, I just spoke to Deputy Coleman, Deputy Chief, that's right, Deputy Chief Coleman, and he told me the steps for us to take. But I think it's important in this lovely city that we understand that people come with their hard-earned work money and they buy homes to live in them, not to be subjected to what I call apartment dwelling type behavior.
Thank you so much, and I'm sure Deputy Chief will help take care of whatever the issue is.
Thank you so much, and thank you for letting me speak.
Oh, absolutely, our pleasure. Okay, Ms. Martin, now, you don't want to speak now? No? Come on up, why not? You came all the way down tonight. Just briefly and real quick, your name and address for the record.
Yes. Well, I think my daughter has covered it, mostly all of what needed to be said. It's just that I feel that had someone been walking by the house that evening, they would have been killed by that motorcycle. And it's not fair and it's not right. And on Sundays, it's so loud, the music is so profane and dirty. And I repeated it to the deputy.
Chief.
I let him know exactly what we're listening to. And we shouldn't have to deal with that type of thing. You know, I've been living here now for almost 16 years. And it has been a neighborhood where we look out for one another, where there isn't any problems at all. One of my neighbors up the street from me, Mr. Mann, at 1013 was almost hit by that motorcycle that same evening. And she would have been here, but she's at another meeting for the Martin Luther King parade. Otherwise, she would have been here to speak to you yourself. And I'm hoping that something can be done before someone gets hurt or something else happens.
Yes, ma'am.
And I thank you for listening.
Absolutely, our pleasure. And as we mentioned, Chief Coleman, you're on top of it?
Yes.
Thank you.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes.
it's probably out of protocol, but can we get a briefing, a follow-up on this from Brian or from the chief?
Chief Coleman, can you just let the council know over the next couple of weeks what actions have been taken? Thank you. Thank you, folks. That is the end of the written request for public comment. Is there anybody else in the audience who would like to address council? Please do so at this time. Seeing none, I will close the public comment portion of our meeting and move on to the consent agenda. These are items 5 through 11 on the agenda. What is the pleasure of council?
Mr. Mayor,
Councilman Hagan.
I'd like to make a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? Councilman Hagan?
Looks good.
Councilman Britton?
Looks good.
Nope.
Yep. Deputy Mayor?
Mr. Mayor, yeah, I'm sorry. Can I take 11 off and make it 12A? I forget
11A.
1A.
So we're going to make 11, 11A. Motioner and seconder agree?
Sure.
Fine.
Okay.
Quick comments.
No problem. If it's quick, do you want to just ask it?
I can just do quick, yeah. That's,
Why don't we just skip protocol for a moment? If it's a quick question, see if it can be answered.
yeah, I just want to, on the south side, there seems to be an open space. I talked to the city manager about that. The lack of any fenestration, or it just needs a little bit more. I was wondering if you guys had an opportunity to talk to them about that yet, or if that was the plan.
Good evening. I had the opportunity to talk to Mr. Kavanagh about this elevation. This was raised by staff during the review, and but there is nothing in the Land Development Code that would require him to do any kind of additional treatment to that facade. But this was raised by staff. We raised again this couple weeks, actually December 23rd. He told us that he might do something on the facade, but at this point he's not ready to change the plans as proposed. This was the response we had from
On
him.
the south elevation, if you look at the last picture, pick it up, sorry. Tell you exactly which one. Why don't we pull off to 11A and then
Okay. All righty, this is going to go on a little bit further, so let me get everything else approved.
Okay.
All righty.
I was hoping it would have been, yeah, we talked a minute.
Okay, no worries. All righty, so the motion on the table is to adopt the consent agenda, item 5 through 10. Item number 11 is going to become 11A. All in favor of the motion, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Aye, opposed, motion carries. All righty, so now we're going to move on to resolution number 2950-15, changes to the elevation of the Park Place Apartments Phase 2 mixed-use building. Councilman Schenk, I will turn it over to you, and Teresa, I guess you're going to be back up.
Yeah, if you look at attachment 3, the south elevation, the left side looks odd, but that's okay. It's a wraparound, and there's a lot going on there, so that's not a problem. But if you look at the right side of that, there's a big white wall that's going to be, again, visible currently. We don't know what's going to be in front of it, or it may be building-wise, but Mitchell Hammock-wise, you'll be able to see that big white area, and all it has a couple of concrete dividing lines, and then just one white, let's say, raised up portion. That's it. Again, one of the biggest complaints we get is the lack of contrast, and I brought that up in our last meeting to with the apartments currently. Wanting a little more contrast, and there is the green. Now there's a green color and a dark brown, but that whole big white wall just facing south again, will complement the other white wall that now face south behind Panera. It's just going to stick out in my mind. So, if they could do something with that, either add some more color to it, a little more fenestration, a little more something detail to it to give it a little break. Even if it's green on top, just some other difference to it is what I'm looking for from them. And again, that's what, when he was here last time, I had said that to him. You know, make sure it doesn't, we don't have these big swaths of white. That we have some contrast. And he said, yes, I know, I understand, we're gonna look to that. Mention the different colors, like Panera's pulling a little colors from them, so to speak, so. But that one white wall is gonna be facing south, how do I feel?
Looks like that's facing the parking lot.
Well, this is actually facing the parking lot. It is visible from Mitchell Hammock Road now, would be, because there is nothing in the...
Right, there's nothing in the way of it right now, and that's why I say, currently, there's no, between there and the parking lot, there's nothing there. Nothing, a little paint, whether it's green or something, would help solve that problem currently. But the same thing as the current wall there, there's a big, huge wall behind Panera's that, yes, when those trees grow up, and just like, it matches the diagram and pictures beautifully, but on the pictures that we have, the conceptuals have nice big tree grown up that fills out some of that space and doesn't allow you to see that wall. You know, for a while, we're going to see that wall until whatever is maybe built in front of it, when it's going to be built in front of it, will be possibly covering it up. So again, I'm just looking, a little color change, a little something there could help that out.
All right, well, what would you like to see us do this evening, Councilman Shank? But I could help you with some options.
Well, we can kick it down the road, and we could.
Right, we can
require some-
continue it,
yeah.
we could approve it, we can approve it with improvements to come back to the south
Yeah, the south
elevation.
elevation.
So, the choice is yours, you pulled it.
I'll kick it, because if we approve it, I just feel it's setting us up for, so I'd look to
Continue it.
continue it till next meeting.
Is that a motion?
Sure.
Is there a second?
I'll second it.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion?
I've just got a question. I'm looking at the renderings, and I'm looking at the west elevation, not the south of it elevation, but it seems to be kind of the same architecture with a kind of a high detailed corner and then a pretty long section of plain Jane stuff. But it's got color contrast and it looks like landscaping. So is that what we're looking for? Is something like the west elevation?
Yeah, just some breakup is all I'm talking, you know, whether it's color on top, a little more detail of some sort, but
Oh, is that the rendering you're looking at?
Yes, that's the south elevation.
Oh, I'm looking
that's
at
the south.
I was
Is the
looking
one
at the
I'm
wrong
looking
south elevation on the other.
I think the councilman's referring to the beige wall on the
The
right.
beige wall on the right
Yes.
side.
That beige wall on the right is way down by
It's set back.
by the lake.
Yes.
And what you see, the gray on the left would actually be what would
Jutted
be
out.
coming all the way up to the Panera.
Yes.
And that's why I said, the gray wall looks like there's nothing there, but there is. That's the wraparound. It is offset. That's a deep, that white wall is set back, I understand, the length of the building, so to speak. So it is set back there. But again, for a while, until something possibly is built in front of it, it'll be visible. And again, whether it's a coat of green paint on the top or some other, just something to break that big white space up. I don't think I'm asking for much by saying, hey, paint the top half green like the other side is green and dark beige on the bottom. Do something like that. But, you know, that's all it might take to break that up a little bit.
This is technically the rear
Right.
facade, but it will be visible in the future in the extension of Mike Roberto Way,
Right.
so it would be visible from that point.
Teresa, when
Yeah,
you
we have
had
multiple rears
when you
here.
had a conversation with Mr. Kavanaugh, I mean, and he said he might. I mean, Councilman Shank brings up a pretty good point, right? I mean, this to me is a coat of two coats of paint, two-tone paint. I mean, does he not want to do that?
Well, when I discussed with him, he was not ready to change the plans. He said, I don't want to change the plans right now. He wants to move on with the
Right.
project, but he said, I can consider, doing something later, but I don't want to change the plans right now.
I would just say if we're
That was-
continuing it, and Councilman Shank, stop me if I'm not hearing you right, but I mean, to me, he's asking for the left side where it's green and brown to maybe do the same thing there, to just give it a little contrast and make it look, to
In
me,
color.
that's a very inexpensive, easy fix that shouldn't be a problem, So I would agree.
Do you want to approve the plans except for the south elevation?
Can we do that? No.
No? All right, that gives Brian a headache. Okay.
Brian just kind of spun.
No. Okay. All right, the motion on the table is to kick this can down the road 2 weeks. Are there any other points of discussion? Councilwoman?
No.
What was your idea?
My idea was to approve the plan except for that one elevation wall, but Brian is...
I wouldn't recommend that.
So we'll just kick the can down the road for 2 weeks. All right, that's the motion on the table. All in favor of the motion, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Aye, opposed, motion carries. All righty, moving on.
That was 11A, not 15, right?
That was 11A. Now we're going to go on to item number 12, ordinance number 1594, the Wellfield Protection Comprehensive Plan Amendment. Mr. Groot, can you read the ordinance by title only, please?
Yes, Mr. Mayor. An ordinance of the City of Oviedo, Florida, amending ordinance number 896 of the City of Oviedo, Florida, as amended from time to time. Said ordinance being the comprehensive land planning ordinance of the City of Oviedo, Florida. Said amendment amending policy 4-4.4.5 relating to wellfield protection as set forth in the potable water element, providing for legislative findings and intent, severability, conflicts, codification matters, and an effective date. And that's the ordinance by title, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Groot. Mr. Cobb, can you please fill us in on this?
Yes, Mayor. This is a request to amend policy 4-4.4.5 of the potable water element of the city's comprehensive plan. This deals with protection zones around city wells. And currently, the existing requirement is that there is a 1,000-foot protection zone around potable wells that have a capacity equal to or exceeding 100,000 gallons per day. Within this 1,000 feet zone, landfills, facilities for bulk storage, activities that require the storage, use, or handling of or production of or transportation of restricted substances, agricultural chemicals, petroleum products, feedlots, wastewater treatment plants, percolation ponds, mines, excavation of waterways or drainage facilities. Those are all prohibited within this 1,000-foot protection area around the well. Additionally, there are two other zones within this 1,000-foot zone. There is a 125-foot no-touch zone, in which no development may occur at all. And then there's a 200-foot protection zone where septic tanks and other sanitary sewer facilities or solid waste disposal facilities are prohibited. What Ordinance 1594 and its sister ordinance 1595, which is amendments to the Land Development Code, what it does is it reduces the 1,000-foot protection zone to 500 feet. The 125-foot no-touch zone is reduced to 75 feet, and then the 200-foot protection zone is reduced to 100 feet. It also identifies within the 75-foot zone, there are some things that can be allowed, such as water supply systems or open space, playgrounds, parks. A residential dwelling unit could be allowed. Accessory structures to that residential dwelling unit, however, that as long as it's not having anything to do with hazardous waste. Within the 100-foot secondary zone, sanitary hazards per Rule 62-555.312 are prohibited. Within the 500-foot wellfield protection zone, landfills, mines, egg production facilities, commercial animal feed operations, once again, the bulk facilities, motor vehicle sales and service, but there is going to be a little bit of a clarification that I need to tell you about. Chemical supplies and industrial uses would be prohibited. There would also be a requirement that all development must be connected to city sewer services, and that there would be a requirement that a special covenant would be placed on any site development order or development permit, acknowledging that this property is located within a protection zone. One of the things I mentioned to you about motor vehicle sales and service, once we got the reply back from the Department of Economic Opportunity, we realized that there's a faction of motor vehicle sales and service that really don't produce the types of things that we are trying to protect our wells from. These types of businesses, they're called conditionally exempt small quantity generators. And they generate less than 1,000 kilograms, 220 pounds a month of hazardous waste. And these are more in line with your car maintenance places is what they are. They have very small amounts of the types of things that we're trying to protect protect the wells from. So one of the things that is clarification that we did, and we did contact the Department of Economic Opportunity about this, and they advised us to make it part of the adoption. They understood what we were trying to do, and so they said, we'll make it part of your adoption ordinance when you bring it forward. Was to put a clarification in for the motor vehicle sales and services, rather than blanket prohibition, but to say motor vehicle sales and service except for these conditionally exempt small quality generators. And so that's something that has been added to the ordinance. Like I said, we did go over it with the Department of Economic Opportunity. They're okay with it. We've also added similar language to Ordinance 1595. One thing about it, one of the purposes that we were trying to do with these changes was to bring our regulations more in line with what state statutes are and also the Florida Administrative Code. We're still more restrictive than, even with these changes, we're still more restrictive than what the state requires. So we're more in line with them, but we're still more restrictive than they are. It is recommended that council conduct a public hearing. This is your adoption hearing, and adopt ordinance number 1594. We have Dr. Correa here tonight. We also have the city's environmental consultant here tonight, and we also have Mr. Grasauskas here tonight as well. They can answer any of your questions. So with that, Mayor, I'll turn it back over to you.
Thank you, Mr. Cobb. I have no written request. This is a public hearing, as Mr. Cobb said. Is there anybody who would like to address council on ordinance number 1594? Seeing none, we'll close public comment and move on to the pleasure of council.
Mayor, make a motion to adopt ordinance number 1594.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Councilman Schenk, you have the floor.
It's fine.
Councilman Britton?
I just had a few questions. Brian, the undeveloped area around there, what's the zoning or future land use designation for those areas along Clance?
Along Clance Street, up on the east side by 434, you're going to have a downtown mixed-use zoning. That's what you're going to have. It's probably going to be City Hall retail.
Okay.
As you move west along Clance Street, you're going to move into a low-density residential area. Well, you've got the area where the duplexes are, which I think they're R2 zoning. And then when you move west of those, I believe you move into an R1 zoning area, which is a low-density residential area.
Okay. And if I'm looking at the right map, to the north is the park? Also
Yes, sir. To the north would be the park.
So it doesn't seem like, even if we go with this, the conditional auto services are going to go in there. Is that correct?
That's really more, in that area, yes, you're right. Where we have the one well that we have that could have a major impact would be over by the water plant. We do have a well over at the water plant.
Okay.
And that's off Mitchell Hammock Road, which is a commercial area.
The residents over there, they're on city sewer?
No, they're on septic.
Okay, so even if, it looks like there's some that are within the 1,000-foot zone that are septic, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Would any new residents that go in be on city sewer?
It would depend on if they were within 100 feet of the sewer line. I'm not really sure. I'm not exactly sure where our sewer lines are in that area, unless Mr.
Okay.
Grasauskas can. Why should come on?
There's lines around Mitchell Hammock right now and down Central.
Mitchell Hammock and Central, there's, what's there?
That would be the corridor that we have sewer on. So
Mitchell Hammock and Central, so,
But to answer Councilman Britton's question, sewer is readily available.
some
not
of
within
the lines,
100
not
feet,
all.
though. Yeah, okay. If this were to be approved at a future date as retail or commercial, would we require it to be city sewer?
Most likely.
Okay,
I can't think of an exception that low.
okay. All right, I'm not asking, just a gut check here. Okay, thanks, that's all I had.
Oh, yeah? All right. Councilwoman, do you have anything?
No, I don't.
Councilman Henkin?
No, sir.
All righty. And Mr. Cobb, you did state at our first reading, and I think you did state at our second reading, this is still more restrictive than the state standards, correct?
Yes, sir, it is.
And if I remember from looking at the maps last time, as Councilman Britton pointed out, there is already residential subdivisions that fall within the
Yes, sir.
expanded code that we had.
Yes, sir.
Right, so, all right. That's all I needed to know. All righty, the motion on the table is to adopt ordinance number 1594. I'll call the question. All in favor of the motion, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Moving along, this is the companion. It's number 1595. This is the amendments to the Land Development Code for what we just approved. Mr. Groot, can you read that by title only, please?
Yes, Mr. Mayor. An ordinance of the City of Oviedo, Florida relating to wellfield protection, amending Article 15, Section 15.6, and Article 18 of the Land Development Code of the City of Oviedo, Florida, providing for associated definitions, providing for penalties and enforcement, providing for a savings provision, providing for conflicts, providing for codification and correction of Scrivener's errors, providing for severability, and providing for an effective date. That's the ordinance by title, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Groot. Mr. Cobb, do you have anything to add?
No, Mayor, as you stated, these are the Land Development Code regulations. This is the revisions that implement what you just adopted as a comprehensive plan amendment. So we're available for questions.
And that's assuming that the Department of Economic Opportunity sends the amendments back unchanged or unchallenged.
Correct.
Thank you. This is a public hearing. I have no written requests. Is there anybody in the audience who would like to address council at this time? Seeing none, we will close the public hearing and move on to the pleasure of council.
Mr. Mayor, I make a motion to adopt ordinance number 1595.
Second.
Motion second. Councilman Schenk, anything to add?
No, sir.
Deputy Mayor? No. Nothing. Councilman Britton?
One more question I forgot
Sure,
to ask
no worries.
earlier. In this area, this entire area is served by city water, correct? There's no competing homeowner wells in the area?
Not that I know of.
Okay, thanks.
Joseph's shaking his head yes back there, so everybody's on city water. Okay. Councilman Henkin?
No, sir.
All righty. Hearing none, the motion on the table is to, hearing no more, excuse me, the motion on the table is to adopt ordinance number 1595. All in favor of the motion, please signify by saying aye. 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 Opposed? Motion carries. Moving along, we're up to item number 14. It is ordinance number 1612, amendments to the Land Development Code relating to changeable copy signs. Mr. Groot, can you read the ordinance by title only, please?
Yes, Mr. Mayor. An ordinance of the City of Oviedo, Florida, amending provisions of the Land Development Code of the City of Oviedo, specifically amended Section 14.7H relating to changeable copy signs, Section 6.2, Table 6.1, relating to the Downtown Development District's Table of Permissible Land Uses, and Section 6.4, Paren 4, and Article 18 relating to the definition of attached dwellings, providing for implementing administrative actions, providing for a savings provision, providing for conflicts, providing for severability, providing for and the correction of Scrivener's errors, and providing for an effective date. And that's the ordinance by title, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Groot. Mr. Cobb?
Thank you, Mayor. Ordinance number 1612, it accomplishes three things. Back in November, we brought to you an issue regarding changeable copy signs. There was a permit issued for a building for a changeable copy sign that was placed on the wall of the building. Traditionally in the past, those signs have been connected to freestanding signs, and so we brought to you the issue and asked if that was what you preferred, was to have it just as a part of a freestanding sign. So this ordinance does accomplish that. It makes the changes to Section 14.7H to have changeable copy signs part of part solely dedicated to a freestanding sign. Staff also, in the process, identified a couple of things that needed to be taken care of. These are mainly housekeeping. One of the issues is that of townhomes. In our comprehensive plan, townhomes are a permissible use, according to our comprehensive plan, within our downtown development districts. And so, but the Land Development Code doesn't have townhomes in the permissible uses table. So this ordinance incorporates townhomes into the permissible uses table for the downtown development districts, so that it is now would make it consistent with the city's comprehensive plan. The staff also did some revisions to attached dwelling units, the definition of attached dwelling units, to incorporate townhomes as well. So those are the three things that this ordinance does accomplish. Tonight, you are asked to obviously read the ordinance by title and to conduct a public hearing, and then to schedule a second public hearing for February the 2nd, 2015.
Thank you, Mr. Cobb. As Mr. Cobb did mention, this is a public hearing on ordinance number 1612. Is there anybody in the audience who'd like to address council at this time? Hearing none, I will close the public hearing, and I'd like to entertain a motion to schedule a second public hearing for ordinance number 1612 on Monday, February 2nd, 2015, here at Oviedo City Hall in the Oviedo City Council Chambers, 400 Alexandria Boulevard, Oviedo, Florida, 32765 at approximately 6:30 p.m.
So moved.
Motion second. Any discussion? No? Hearing none, I'll call the vote. All in favor of the motion to schedule the public hearing for February 2nd, signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? What's that? Yes, I know. That's our Planning and Zoning Committee having fun. Motion passes 5-0. First reading of ordinances. First one is ordinance number 1607. It is a nuisance abatement ordinance. Mr. Groot, can you read that by title only, please?
Yes, Mr. Mayor. An ordinance of the City of Oviedo relating to public nuisance abatement, amending Section 22-144 of the Code of Ordinances of the City of Oviedo, Florida, providing for penalties, providing for penalties. I'm sorry, I'll have to renegotiate the title here. Providing for severability and enforcement, providing for a savings provision, providing for conflicts, providing for codification, the transfer of Article 8 of the Land Development Code to the Code of Ordinances, and providing for an effective date. And that's the ordinance by title, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Groot. Mr. Cobb?
Thank you, Mayor. This ordinance deals with nuisance abatement, which I thought it was pretty special that we had the folks come in during public comment tonight. This ordinance gives us some teeth when it comes to nuisance abatement. It delves into just what constitutes a sanitary nuisance, and it gives us the terminology that we need to designate a sanitary nuisance. It also there's a section in the Land Development Code that deals with nuisances and smoke and noise and things, and it transfers that out of the Land Development Code into the Code of Ordinances. And so that now we'll have all of our nuisance abatement regulations all in one document, so it'll make it easier from an enforcement standpoint. The other part of it is that it enables our code enforcement staff and our police department to take a more proactive approach regarding complaints. A lot was wrong with our existing regulations was that we had regulations and it told us here's what it is, but it didn't tell us how we could code enforcement or how we could go and get corrections done. And so this ordinance, as I said, this ordinance gives us that teeth so that we can get things corrected and get them brought up to code. So tonight you're asked to schedule a public hearing for Tuesday, January the 20th at 2015.
Thank you, Mr. Cobb. At this time, I'd like to entertain a motion to schedule the public hearing for ordinance number 1607 on Tuesday, January 20th, 2015 at approximately 6:30 p.m. here at Oviedo City Hall in the Oviedo City Council Chambers, 400 Alexandria Boulevard, Oviedo, Florida, 32765.
Second.
Motion second. Any discussion?
No, sir.
Councilor Shank, Deputy Mayor, Councilman Britton? No? Hearing none, we'll call the vote to schedule the second public hearing for Tuesday, January 20. All in favor of the motion, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Got a whole bunch of them here we're going to do. Moving on, we've got ordinance number 1608, vacant and abandoned building condemnation and demolition ordinance. Mr. Groot, could you read that ordinance by title only, please?
Yes, Mr. Mayor. An ordinance of the City of Oviedo, Florida, requiring the maintenance of abandoned or vacant buildings and structures, providing for definitions, procedures, standards, and requirements relative to the protection of properties and the prevention of public nuisances and dangerous circumstances, providing for registration, providing that neglected, vacant, or abandoned properties to the list of circumstances which are declared public nuisances, providing for implementing administrative actions, providing for penalties and enforcements, providing for conflicts, providing for a savings provision, providing for severability, providing for codification and correction of scrivener's errors, and providing for an effective date. That's the ordinance by title, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Groot. Mr. Cobb.
Thank you, Mayor. This is another ordinance that we've brought forward to give us more teeth in the enforcement arena. This one deals with vacant and abandoned buildings. It provides us with the definitions we need regarding the identification of vacant and abandoned buildings. It sets forth standards for the maintenance and the care of these types of buildings. It also gives us the opportunity to have these buildings boarded up through either action of the property owner or through action by the city. It also gives us an enforcement policy as well. And tonight we're asking that City Council schedule a public hearing for January the 20th, 2015.
Thank you, Mr. Cobb. I do appreciate it. At this time, I'd like to entertain a motion to schedule the public hearing for Tuesday, January 20, 2015, at approximately 6:30 p.m. here at Oviedo City Hall, Oviedo City Council Chambers, 400 Alexandria Boulevard, Oviedo, Florida, 32765 at approximately 6:30 p.m.
So moved.
Second.
Motion second. Any discussion?
No, sir.
All right.
No, sir.
No, we're good. All righty. All those in favor of scheduling the second public hearing for Tuesday, January 20, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? That was a delayed aye somewhere. We got them all? 5-0? All righty. Motion passes. Moving on, we're up to ordinance number 1609. We're switching gears here. Comprehensive plan amendment for Central Florida Regional Hospital. Mr. Groot, can you read the ordinance by title only, please?
Yes, Mr. Mayor. An ordinance of the City of Oviedo, Florida, amending ordinance number 896, the comprehensive land planning ordinance, as previously amended, providing for amendment to the City of Oviedo comprehensive plan, said amendment changing the future land use of approximately 6.26 acres from industrial, IN, to commercial, CM, as described in this ordinance, providing for legislative findings and intent, providing for assignment of the land use designation, providing for severability, providing for conflicts, providing for codification, the correction of scrivener's errors, and directions to the code codifier, and providing for an effective date. That's the ordinance by title, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Groot. Mr. Cobb.
Thank you, Mayor. This is a request for the City Council to amend the future land use map designation for approximately 6.26 acres from industrial to commercial. The subject property is located south of Oviedo Mall Boulevard, west of Broadway Street, and located on the north side of Pratt Place. The property owner is the Central Florida Regional Hospital. This is a small-scale comprehensive plan amendment, so once you conduct your adoption hearing, it will be sent to the Department of Economic Opportunity. If they have no objection, it will then become effective 31 days later. The applicant has also submitted a request for change of zoning, which will be your next ordinance, ordinance number 1610. The proposed commercial future land use designation is a reduction in density and intensity from the existing industrial future land use designation. Therefore, there's capacity to serve the property if it is developed as a commercial property. Also, the commercial future land use designation is compatible with the surrounding future land use designations and zoning designations within the area. The Development Review Committee and the Planning, Zoning, and Appeals Board both recommend adoption. It is recommended that the City Council schedule a public hearing for January the 20th, 2015.
Thank you, Mr. Cobb. At this time, I'd like to entertain a motion to schedule a public hearing for ordinance number 1609 on January 20, 2015 at approximately 6:30 p.m. here at Oviedo City Hall in the Oviedo City Council Chambers, 400 Alexandria Boulevard, Oviedo, Florida, 32765 at approximately 6:30 p.m.
So moved.
Second.
Motion second. Any discussion?
No, sir.
No? Do you have anything to add, Javier, or are you good for now? All right. Seeing no discussion, I'll call the vote to schedule the second public hearing for January 20. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Moving on to the zoning map amendment, as Mr. Cobb explained, this is item number, ordinance number 1610. Mr. Groot, can you read that by title only, please?
Yes, Mr. Mayor. An ordinance of the City of Oviedo, Florida, amending the official zoning map of the city by changing the zoning district of approximately 6.26 acres of property located 938 feet west of Broadway Street, approximately 300 feet south of Oviedo Mall Road, and on the north side of Pratt Place from industrial I-1 to commercial C2, providing for legislative findings and intent, implementing actions, non-codification, severability, conflicts, and an effective date. And that's the ordinance by title, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Groot. At this time, I'd like to entertain a motion to schedule a public hearing for ordinance number 1610 on January 20, 2015, approximately 6:30 p.m., Oviedo City Hall, Oviedo City Council Chambers, 400 Alexandria Boulevard, Oviedo, Florida, 32765.
So moved.
Second.
Motion second. Any discussion?
Good, Mr. Mayor.
Seeing none, we'll call the vote. All in favor of the motion, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Moving on to our last first reading, it's ordinance number 1611, and this is, it just says graffiti. Mr. Groot, can you read ordinance 1611 by title only, please?
Yes, Mr. Mayor. An ordinance of the City of Oviedo,
By
Florida, relating to graffiti and graffiti regulation and abatement, providing for legislative findings and purpose and intent, providing for definitions, providing for prohibitions and obligations relative to property and conduct, providing for conflicts, providing for enforcement and penalties, providing for the taking of administrative actions, providing for a savings provision, providing for severability, providing for codification and the correction of scrivener's errors, and providing for an effective date. That's the ordinance by title, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Groot. Mr. Cobb.
Thank you, Mayor. The purpose of ordinance number 1611 is to help us to hopefully prevent the spread of graffiti vandalism and to establish a program for the removal of graffiti from private and public properties. This ordinance, I will caution, this ordinance is not to prohibit or regulate murals or wall art or hardscaping. This is to deal with vandalism, graffiti is what this is to deal with. It provides us with the definitions that we need to go out and to identify graffiti. It gives us it also identifies graffiti implements, and that if we find them in possession, a person in possession of graffiti implements, that we will be able to take enforcement action. It also gives our code enforcement office and our police department the teeth it needs to take the necessary steps to have their graffiti remediated, as well as to bring forth enforcement measures when necessary. Tonight, we are asking that the City Council schedule a public hearing for January the 20th, 2015.
Thank you, Mr. Cobb. At this time, I'd like to entertain a motion to schedule a public hearing for ordinance number 1611 for Tuesday, January 20, 2015, at approximately 6:30 p.m. at Oviedo City Hall in the Oviedo City Council Chambers, 400 Alexandria Boulevard, Oviedo, Florida, 32765.
So moved.
Motions and lots of seconds. Lots of motions, lots of seconds. Any discussion?
I got a quick question. What do we have in place now to address graffiti, Brian? Is most of it after-the-fact type actions?
Actually, we're pretty silent on graffiti. And so what we're doing right now is taking something and stretching it to apply to graffiti, is what we're doing. And so this actually addresses it. So
Can
I'm
I
a little
jump in there,
concerned
Mr. Mayor?
about a cop pulling an 18-year-old over and seeing a can of paint in his car and then taking the paint when there's maybe another excuse for it, and how we would handle that sort of thing.
we're going to have to ask the deputy chief if he can help me out with that one. But I think I know in the discussions that I sat in on, it was more of, it wasn't, we do a traffic stop and there's a can of paint or there's a spray can of paint in the car. It was more of, we see them actually carrying it on their person. That was the discussions that,
Exactly.
am I right, Mr. Griffin?
That's exactly
That was the
right.
discussions that we really concentrated on, was that they've done it, they've done the art, I'll just use it art as, they put the graffiti on the wall, and now they're walking away, and that's when we catch them, and they've got it there in their hands.
So
That's-
I'm hung up on the 18-year-old. Wouldn't that be something where you would call the parents and issue a citation? And do we have fines or penalties that we can levy in the case that you just described? We catch them almost red-handed?
That's one of the enforcement parts of this, is that we can take it through the citation process. We can also take it through the magistrate process as well.
And the parent is responsible for a child.
Yeah, I'm worried less about the 18-year-old than I am the 19 or 20-year-old. But is there criminal penalties that we have in place already, or is this going to put those in place?
This will give the city teeth that it doesn't have now.
Okay.
And actually, that's something I wanted to mention. What you've done tonight with the nuisance abatement and the vacant and abandoned building and this graffiti ordinance, and the chief's working on a noise ordinance too, you are providing a litany of tools that you don't have now in the city of Oviedo to address problems that arise, which heretofore have had the answer, well, we don't have anything on the books. Well, you're going to have a lot of provisions on the books to provide those tools of enforcement.
Okay, thanks.
Anything else? No. Hearing none, the motion is to schedule the public hearing for Tuesday, January 20, 2015, here at Oviedo City Hall. All those in favor of the motion, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Aye, opposed? Motion carries. Moving on, item number 20, special permission to change the wall material specification of the Oviedo Gardens subdivision preliminary subdivision plan. We couldn't shorten that up just a teeny bit at all? No? All right, let's see, who are we going to? Mr. Cobb, this is yours.
Thank you, Mayor. Tonight, I want to start off, the best way to explain this to you is Land Development Code, Section 4.15, subsection C on walls and fences. It says all walls and fences shall be constructed in compliance with applicable building codes and according to the following dimensional and use regulations, unless, and here's the important part, unless otherwise, unless specified otherwise in conditions of a site development order, a special exception use order, development agreement, or by special permission of the City Council. That's the most important one. Land Development Code, Section 4.15C4E, requires all masonry walls to be finished with brick on all exposed sides. You have a request tonight from Meritage Homes regarding the Oviedo Gardens subdivision, which is a subdivision that you recently approved. It's located up at the intersection of Oklahoma Street and County Road 426, to allow the installation of a precast simulated brick wall, and in lieu of constructing a brick wall. As I've stated before, the only way that this is possible, our code says all walls shall be brick. And so the only way possible is through an amendment to a site development order or a development agreement or special permission by the City Council. It was difficult for the staff to determine if this simulated brick wall was a functional equivalent of an actual brick wall. Just based on looking at pictures, we did receive letters from the contractor as well as from the property owner. But we asked them, said, could you help us understand what this is? They gave us examples. They told us where we could go look. But they also brought an example to the meeting tonight. It was put on display outside, and it was for you all to be able to have a chance to actually see what this looks like. The resolution 2938 is written to approve the request. However, we've given you, we don't really have a recommendation for you because we didn't have an opportunity to really look at it ahead of time. But if you do find that this simulated brick wall is a functional equivalent, then our recommendation is that you adopt it. If you find that the simulated brick wall is not a functional equivalent to the brick, then our recommendation is that you deny. Dr. Correa is also here if you have any questions, and I believe also the applicant is here if you would like to receive information from them as well.
All righty, thank you, Mr. Cobb. Applicant, like to make a presentation?
Good evening, Mr. Mayor,
How are you,
council
sir?
members, staff. I'm David Brown. I'm with Meritage Homes, 5337 Millennial Lakes Boulevard, Orlando. This is concerning Oviedo Gardens. Oviedo Gardens, we are currently under the approved plans, obligated to install a 6-foot-high beige brick wall along the frontage of 426. Just prior to Oklahoma. What we would like to do is basically see if we can get approval for either the faux brick wall, concrete brick wall that you see outside, or for real brick, which of course we're already obligated to do. We'd like to do either or, as we want to continue to pursue this. Wanted to talk just a little bit about the benefits of the concrete, precast concrete panels as opposed to typical brick. One of the biggest benefits is the fact that, this is Mr. Jamie Hodges at Seminole Masonry. Sorry. One of the biggest benefits of the faux brick walls, the precast brick walls, is it doesn't require a lintel. And the reason for that being of importance to the city, whether it be this project or future projects, is the fact that when you install a footer, you end up damaging a lot of tree roots. So if you're getting fairly close to trees and or utilities, for example, you run into issues when you start installing a footer. The concrete panel walls, you can basically bridge over the footer, the tree roots and whatnot. Another major one compared to masonry brick walls would be the stair-stepping cracks from settlement. We've all seen the stair steps where you get that in brick walls as well. The only difference is you don't see it quite as much because it's captured in the grout lines. Eventually that results in need to repoint the grout lines. Maintenance is more efficient with this type of a wall, and also in the event that you have a car accident or otherwise, matching is less difficult as years go on. Jamie, do you have some things?
Don't have any questions. Brenda's chief. There is a big difference with the walls that we've done 15 years ago. Brick to match up, go through subdivision. The mold, it's a molded wall, both sides look the same. Better or not. Any questions you have?
I think you did great.
Thanks, buddy.
Mr. Mayor, I have a couple questions.
Sure, I was going to go up and down. We'll start with Deputy Mayor.
The color on the brick, how do you get the color on there? How is that baked into it?
It's
or
a stain is what we use, like concrete stain is what we do. And it's done in a two-step process. The whole wall is colored with a stain, and then the color for the topping of it is done with a real thin nap roller, and it takes the top layer. It's an old world brick finish is what it is. And it's a two-color process as well. It's first one is sprayed on, the second one is rolled on by hand.
so the red brick portion, not the
Not the grout lines.
not the grout lines, that's painted on.
That's all sprayed on. It's a stain, yes, ma'am.
And how long does that last?
I have not repainted the first wall that I've done since 08, type of product that we do. I mean, everything has maintenance. I mean, brick walls have mildew. You pressure clean them. Brick walls, I mean, the maintenance is, like you said, is with settlement cracks where we replace bricks from time to time, pressure cleaning, grout lines change. the only maintenance on this is just going to be pressure clean, and then probably every other time would be a coloring. That's it.
And then if it needs a color, do you just repaint?
That's it.
You just take a ruler on each, I know I'm getting really technical here, so I apologize. So you would just paint each brick?
No, it's not each one. It's put on with a 2-foot wide thin nap roller to put the top on. You spray the whole wall at one time, and then just a 2-foot wide, and you're getting in 3 stripes. You're getting the whole wall at one.
But then what about the grout?
It doesn't touch it.
So when he sprays the wall, it's actually putting in the grout coloring. So the grout coloring could be various different grout
Exactly.
colors. After they've sprayed the wall, which is the base, then when they take the roller, which isn't sprayed on, that's, since it's 3-dimensional, it sticks out, the raised pieces, and the fact it's old world means that it was intentionally made imperfect
Right,
to give
right.
the appearance. So the higher points give the coloring. Red or whatever color.
No, I was looking at it, and I saw you put these rods in on each end,
The I-beams, that's part of the footing system.
and it goes into the ground.
Yes,
Does
ma'am.
that need a footer for it?
Yes, ma'am. There's a concrete footing that goes in the ground about 4 feet. When we auger into the ground 4 feet, and that I-beam is in the ground 2.5 feet, and then we can make these in 6 or 8 foot tall. But for that, yes, the I-beam goes in the ground and goes in tall.
Those are
So
every 15 feet.
Every 15 foot on center. Yep.
As opposed to a continuous footer every 15 feet. So the whole discussion I was talking about with tree roots, as an example, is the ability to jump, potentially pick where you
Water
want.
drainage makes it a lot easier. Water can drain if you hold them up off the ground a little bit, for water to flow underneath them. There's a lot of benefits to what happens. The panels are 5 inches thick. We manufacture them with 6,000 psi concrete. They're unbelievable. They're not a small 1 inch or 1.5 inch thick. I don't know if y'all seen them. There's some products out there that are very thin. This is
Veneers.
it's a 5 inch thick.
How does it stand up with hurricane winds?
It's engineered for the codes of what this area is. They are designed over and beyond that. We haven't had a hurricane in a long time, so.
The columns at either end, one side of the column is keyed, so that panel fits into it. So then the high wind, it's being carried by that footer that goes underneath that column. That carries the entire wind loading.
Is there much of a difference in cost of this type of wall as opposed to a true brick wall?
It is cheaper.
It's cheaper?
It is cheaper.
Significantly?
About 30%.
I'm sorry?
Roughly 30%.
30%?
We're estimating. That is not our primary motive. It is indeed cheaper. It also is about 20% quicker to install.
Okay. I think that's all the questions I have. Thank you.
Anybody have
Okay.
anything else?
If Cindy was technical, I want to get more technical. The I-beams are vertical, that you have in the, so you place those in a footer and encase them in concrete, and then you get a vertical hydrant, and it slides in.
Vertical column.
Vertical column that they slide in.
It's cantilevered from the column.
The column's 4 foot span,
Okay, how much do the panels weigh?
about 5,800 pounds.
So you said you don't have a lintel, which in my layman's term provides the ability to handle that load, that weight, without bending. What's in the precast that will keep it from bending? And that's actually from the wind question, that'll keep it from bowing. Is it structurally strong enough?
Yeah, structure design, it's got number 4 welded wire in it, number 5 rebar. This is all designed by a structural engineer.
Okay. So there's something down there that's holding that 5,000 pounds and keeping it from bowing on the bottom.
Absolutely.
Okay.
This product has been approved by the Army Corps of Engineers. We installed it at Camp Shelby in Mississippi at a training facility, the NOAA disaster facility in Mobile, Alabama. So it's been through its technicalities of how it's made and the way it's installed.
Have you installed any at NASA? Just
You
curious.
probably did put them in Mississippi up at Stennis. Up at Stennis, it's a NASA base up in Mississippi.
Oh, yeah?
It has. I've seen some of these up there. Functionally, I think it would do the same thing as a brick wall. I just wanted to make sure that, it's structurally the same and taking that into account.
I'm a brick mason by trade, and I can tell you that this precast wall is more secure.
That's all I have.
Oh, yeah. Anything else? Councilman Shank? Councilman Hagan?
Colleagues did very good. Thank you, guys.
I'm just curious. What do you use down at Ellington off Old Lockwood?
That was a stucco wall, wasn't it, a masonry wall? Ellingsworth. That's what you.
Yeah, Ellingsworth, whatever it is.
It's down by Haggerty. Masonry block wall with stucco over.
Right. La Park?
Oh. The park
Brick?
wall.
Real brick.
If you've been out to,
The one up on, well, I'm not done. The one up on 434 that you just finished, what's that one called up there, Brian?
Hammock Reserve.
Hammock Reserve, brick?
that was
Why the change now?
well, for the benefits that we mentioned. Namely, in the event that you're trying to avoid tree roots, this is a substantial advantage. The
Now,
event-
down Oklahoma, you're not putting brick wall?
No, down Oklahoma, it calls for brick columns and then aluminum fencing. Because the house is set back, there's retention ponds along the inward side of Oklahoma
Right.
before you get to the houses. So that's going to be visible through
Right, so that's going to have a brick column
brick column,
With-
aluminum fencing,
with the aluminum fencing in between.
brick columns.
Yeah,
We
So,
would make the same product match with
as opposed to a mason brick wall.
as opposed to a brick wall that's been, so it all match.
Well, it certainly looks better than stucco, I'll give you that. I don't know if it's quite brick in my mind, but we'll see what everybody else thinks. All
I was
right.
going to mention out in Windermere. This Seminole Masonry just picked up and purchased the mold that they're using for the mock-up this evening. That's one of the reasons why we want to provide staff with any good exhibits prior to this evening. But if you happen to have driven out to Windermere and you've been off 535, basically West Orange, there is a ton of basically stacked stone precast walls, most of which came from Seminole Masonry. But
Yeah, I watched you guys put that in. That was pretty nifty, seeing how you just kind of slipped it all together.
it's the exact same wall, difference being is the mold's different.
Okay.
How do you replace those if you have to? Take the cap off the column? You have to remove the cap off the columns?
Everything's precast.
If I had a car run through my wall, I'd rather have one of these to replace than a whole brick wall.
Yeah, they just had all the I-beams up at St. Luke's, and they're just slipping them in. I mean, the thing went up in a couple of days, it seemed like, once you had all the footers set. I mean, it was pretty cool to watch, and then they painted it, and it does look pretty good, I'll give you that. All right.
I have one more question.
Sure, of course.
Is that, the wall that's out there, that red brick, is that what you're thinking of using? Or are you using something else that's in this book?
We're obligated to a beige wall, so we will be presenting colors. If you look to the, as you pointed out, to the backside, there is a beige. I'm not saying that is the beige, but I had asked them to do a lighter colored wall as well as an exhibit. So that's somewhat representative of what will come in.
The beige color, to find a beige colored brick that doesn't look biased or like a school or what have you, hard to find. Utility size.
Okay. Any other discussion? All righty, guys, thanks for answering our questions.
Thank you.
Who knows, we may call you back up. I have no request to speak forms on this item, so I'll move on to the pleasure of council.
Mr. Mayor,
Councilman Henkin.
I'd like to make a motion to adopt Resolution 2938-15 to approve.
Second.
Motion second. Any further discussion?
No, I mean, I think just hearing what the gentleman who worked at the company said about how strong it is, to me, it's about strength. And also, for years, we wrestled with brick walls and developers and having, problems getting them to do it. This is a nice option that I've seen in the city, down by Lutheran Haven. That's good. When you talked about these commercial places, you put them in, that they were tested and the wind loads, I'm totally comfortable with it. It's nice to have another option at our hands for other things that might pop up, so I'm good.
All right.
Thank you.
Who was the second? Councilman Schenk.
It is better a stucco wall. It is brick. There's something about a brick wall, but I think maintenance going down the line for years to come, for the HOA especially, that you start looking at that and saying it's going to be a little bit easier down the line for them to maintain that wall and to keep it up, or if there is an accident, whatever that goes on. But the maintenance of the wall long term, so I'm fine.
Good. Anything else? No. Steve? No? All righty. Hearing none, I'll call the vote. The motion on the table is to adopt Resolution 2938-15. All in favor of the motion, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Go build a wall. Thank you, guys. And since you asked, I like the red brick better. Yes. Next item, Resolution 2948-15, Site Development Order 409, yes, I am going to say -09, extension for Pinewood Estates Preliminary Subdivision Plan. Mr. Cobb, this one's yours again.
Thank you, Mayor. The Land Development Code provides for the extension of site development orders. And there are three criteria that the City Council must take into consideration when determining whether or not to extend the expiration date of a site development order. One is, has the site development order expired? The second one is, has the developer proceeded in good faith and due diligence? And then thirdly, have conditions not changed so substantially to warrant the requirement of a new application? As the mayor said, yes, this site development order was originally approved in 2009. A one-year extension was granted to extend the expiration date to 2010. The state legislature granted two more one-year extensions, which extended the life of the site development order to 2012. In January of 2013, City Council extended the site development order to an expiration date of December 7, 2014. The staff did receive a request from the applicant in November prior to the expiration date. Unfortunately, we didn't receive it in time to place it on the December 1st, 2014 agenda. Therefore, tonight, we're bringing it for you tonight. We believe that they have met the three conditions. They did make the request prior to the expiration of the site development order, even though it has expired, but they made the request prior to. The applicant, as he cited in his letter, economic conditions have not warranted moving forward with the development. This is a subdivision plan. It's a 5-lot subdivision plan, so really conditions haven't occurred they haven't substantially changed to warrant a new application. So it's recommended that the City Council adopt Resolution number 2948-15.
Thank you, Mr. Cobb. Is the applicant here? Nope. All righty. I have no public request to speak forums, so we'll skip that and move on to the pleasure of council.
May I make a motion to adopt resolution number 2948-15?
Second.
Motion second. Any discussion? Councilman Schenk? Deputy Mayor?
No.
Councilman Briggs?
Good.
No. Mr. Cobb, I don't mind being fair with folks, but 6 years is a long time.
It seems a bit long, yes, especially for 5 lots. But as
Are they just 5 lots? I don't remember what we approved, and I didn't see the site plan in here. Is it just 5 lots, each one facing Pine,
Yes, sir.
essentially?
That's it,
There's just 5 homes along Pine, basically?
basically.
And nothing substantially has changed in our code since we
No,
approved it?
sir. It's R2 zoning.
So it's just, all right. Just, they can't go on forever, though. Eventually, you have to build or lose your entitlements.
Eventually, yes, sir. This will give them one more year. And if they, city council has the right to not approve the extension. So.
Well, don't want to be difficult, but I think, I personally would like to just see a message being sent to Mr. Young, that do something with it. You might not be so lenient next year if he comes back, but it's been extension after extension after extension. But that's just my opinion. Any other discussion?
I agree. I mean, it's really been a long time. I just wonder if there's something else that we're missing, But I agree. Next year, it's not going to be so easy. It's got to get moving on that,
Anything else? Hearing none, I'll call the vote. The motion on the table is to adopt the resolution granting the one-year extension. All in favor of that motion, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Dr. Carrera, if you could share with Mr. Young the sentiments of council, that, 6 years is plenty long enough. Please do something with this property. All righty. Next up is the committee assignments for the members of council. Each year, we just review our different committee assignments. Without having to read through each and every one of them, are there any changes that anybody would like to make?
Yes, possibly the council, the deputy mayor, take over the Oviedo Winter Springs Chamber of Commerce.
All righty. That says the ad hoc member.
Yep. And,
Councilwoman, you're looking to do that?
Yes, I am.
Okay.
Yep.
Sorry.
and I would step to the Metro Plan alternate for me.
You're going to take the alternate? Okay, I can never miss a meeting. You sure you don't want to keep it, Councilwoman? They told me they like you down there. No, that's okay. I'm only teasing. All right, so you guys are swapping committees. All right. Councilman Britton, you happy with everything you've got?
I do see, I have been serving for you on your behalf on the UCF Foundation Board.
That has to be assigned to the mayor, and then the mayor assigns it to a member. So yes, you can, I know you've enjoyed that, correct?
Yes.
You can continue along on that, and if they request a letter again this year, I'll have the clerk's office send it down. It's, I think you get much more out of that. Not that I didn't enjoy it, but as an alum, I think it's right in your wheelhouse. So, all righty, anything else? All righty, so we're going to approve the committees, Mr. Cobb and Barbara, with one change. Councilwoman is going to take over for Councilman Schenk on the Chamber of Commerce, and he is going to become the alternate for Metro Plan. Lord have mercy.
When's the next meeting?
No, it's the beginning of the month, so it would be beginning of February. I think it's the first Thursday of the month or something like
Shake it up, Shake.
Evidently, I have something to bring up in my report, so, well, actually, I'll just do it right now. Evidently, the MAC committee has been granted a voting membership on the big board. After 12 years of trying, the chairman of the MAC will be a voting member. However, there's always a however to it. They are going to charge the MAC committee for the right to have that voting seat. So, because each member of the MAC committee, I believe, each member of the big board pays a minimum, the ad hoc members pay $25,000 for the seat. So, for instance, the airport pays $25,000. The cities and the counties all pay on a pro rata share based on population. So they will be charging the MAC committee the $25,000. So what the staff at Metro Plan is going to present to us at our next meeting is how that actually breaks down for all the cities. So what our fair share pro rata would be. And, based on the membership and the cost and the size of our city, they're anticipating nobody will be higher than $1,500 or $1,600 a year, but once I have it, I'll bring it back to everybody. So that's what they're looking at. The advantage of having a vote on the board is that at least the cities will be heard a little bit. The disadvantage, I don't really know if there is any other than the cost. It has to be a unanimous vote of all the cities in order to share the cost. So that's going to be interesting to see, based on the membership, if we get all 13 members, I think it is, to pony up. So I'll report back, but.
I think you sent Shank down there, get everybody.
No, there's a couple that could be interesting. We'll see. But, all right, Mr. Cobb, we don't need a motion on this, correct? Just an acknowledgement?
No, sir, I don't believe
Everybody's
you
in
do.
agreement on the dais? All right, off we go. Mr. Cobb, we're up to your report. Congratulations to Tennessee, by the way.
Oh, thank you.
They won a game. Oh, wait, did I say that out loud? They won a ball. Who'd
won
they
a
beat
ball.
again?
First one in a long time.
Who'd they beat?
Iowa. University of Iowa.
Pretty good team.
They played well.
And you and your family got to go and all dressed in your orange?
Oh, yes.
As an alum, I'm sure you were.
Everyone was dressed in orange. It was the youngest one's first game. So.
Mr. Cobb, I'm going to interrupt your report just for a second. Mr. Bower, let's talk about your ball. Mr. Bower, you're an alum of what school? Yes, and how did that work out? We're going to lunch at Ruth Chris. Is that where you're taking me? All righty, we've had our fun. Mr. Cobb?
Thank you, Mayor. I appreciate your patience.
Mr. Groot, I would not pick on you. I have too much respect.
Oh, that's cold.
Yeah, well, unless you're alum as well.
But, no, I appreciate your patience with the lengthy agenda tonight, and I just wanted to wish everyone a Happy New Year.
Thank you.
Until Brian.
Mr. Groot, do you have a report for us?
My blood is garnet and gold, and it was all spilled, so I have nothing to say.
Were you and Drew conversing after that loss, let's call it? Actually, the funniest part, and I'll share this, is that when Drew and I were making the lunch bet, he was insisting that he wanted the 9 points. And at this point, I could have given him 38. But sorry, Drew. That's all right. All righty, Councilmember Schenk, you are up.
Happy New Year, everybody. Let's have a safe and good New Year this year as we go to 215. A couple of different little things. Trucks on Mitchell Hammock. I bring it up every once in a while, and it was brought up a couple last week sometime. Heavy trucks on Mitchell Hammock. It's problematic, and we need to start doing something about it. Every time it's brought up, it becomes we don't have signs, we don't have this, we don't have that. But they're out there, they're using our roadway, they're tearing up our roadway and tearing up our bricks now that we're putting out in the front of the roadway, at Oviedo Boulevard, et cetera. So, let's start making some progress, I hope, on that. As every time I drive down, there's usually a truck sitting in front of me, making a left-right turn, heading to Publix, heading to Winn-Dixie, heading somewhere that it should
Can we
be
add
heading.
Lockwood Boulevard to that list?
And Lockwood also.
Well,
both
I think it's the city streets in
right,
general.
the city streets general, but those two mainly.
Before you move on, is there consensus of council for this? Because it comes up, it just falls into a dark hole somewhere. For no trucks on the city roads. Years back, and I don't know what changed, what happened, years back we used to have signs on the roads that said, no trucks except for local deliveries. And those signs disappeared one day. And, ever since then, it seems that OPD has differing opinions on how to enforce this. So, Mr. Cobb, I think what I would like to see, but Councilman Schenk is asking for this, so I'll just tag on, is that, if we don't have it in our ordinances, let's get it in our ordinances, or if there's a state ordinance, let's get it there, because the way I remembered it is the trucks have to stay on the state and county roads. And, we're watching dump trucks come up and down Mitchell Hammock. They're tearing up our streets. So, we had consensus?
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
Well, and let's say something back in like 30 or 45 days. Is that possible?
Well, we can probably get you an answer. I don't know if we
How
have
about
to do
30
an
days,
ordinance. I
give
don't
us
know if
an
we have an
answer
ordinance.
And how about 45 days we want an ordinance?
probably have an answer in 45 easy. I think, I know, my recollection of it was, I think there was something done that, and I know Mitchell Hammock was always the big worry, but there was a finding by someone that Mitchell Hammock could handle the truck weight. Because I thought that was, when I first came here, that was the big concern, was that Mitchell Hammock was not constructed of such that it could handle the truck weight. And I think when they found that, that's when the signs came down, because
But who took the signs down?
I'm not really sure who did, quite honestly.
Mr. Waller, do you have an answer for that? And are you brave enough to come give it? Come on up to the microphone, because Barbara will get...
The signs are in place on city roads. If any are missing, there's been a knockdown. Mitchell Hammock, Lockwood, and all residential streets off of those major state thoroughfares are marked no trucks. There's been no change in the signage. Sometimes they do get hit. They are on corners. It's a hot spot for knockdowns. We worked in with a consultant to make a truck route plan. The issue is, from PD, my understanding, a lot of it is the signage is not noted before the truck makes a turn. And so the signage is, you come off like 426 and you enter Mitchell Hammock, you've already committed your route before you see the signage. DOT will not allow us to put signage on their roads without a commissioned study from a roadway traffic engineer.
Do we have that ongoing now?
We
Is that
have
what you're
that
saying?
ongoing now, yes, sir.
Can we get a full report back on what's being done, what the timeline is, and when we can expect
I
to see
get
it?
an update when Bobby gets back on the time frame for that study to come back. Yes, sir.
Might send it to Mr. Kopp, and then Mr. Kopp can
Mr.
filter
Mayor?
it off to us. Yes.
Can I make a suggestion, just based on David's description there, that we maybe have OPD pull these guys over and remind them that they're not supposed to be traveling those roads? If in fact they don't see the sign, well, we should pull them over and remind them not to do that, and then maybe the next time they won't. But if there is a next time and they have been told, then maybe there's a remedy.
Oh, I agree. And a lot of them are, you know, we know where some of them are going. Can remind those large stores, you know, that they should tell their trucks that they're not allowed to be on those roads repeatedly, weekly, or twice weekly. And it has become a cut through, because I see some of them coming down Mitchell Hammock, making a left on Lockwood, and just blowing by and going out Lockwood, heading up to go 426 straight out and keep going. So, you know, it's becoming a cut through route also, but there are locations that we definitely know where they're headed to, that we can at least talk to them and tell them also. But I agree.
We hijacked your report, yes.
Yeah, I just
Deputy
want to
Mayor's going to continue hijacking your reports.
I'm good with that.
No. Talking about the trucks, I've noticed a lot of traffic is making a right on South Lake Jessup from Broadway, and I've even seen tractor trailers there, and they're not moving trucks, they're tractor trailers. They're going up, making a left on Clark, or going up to Hillcrest even. And so there's a lot of trucks. I think they're cutting through so they don't have to go into town. And those little roads there can't handle that kind of traffic.
Unacceptable. Yep. They're supposed to be professionals, let them use the state and county roads.
All righty, Mr. Cobb. Thank you. Councilman Schenk, I'm sorry.
No, that's okay. One more thing. I was good. That's
That's good conversation, yeah.
It was asked about, and I had talked to Bobby a while ago, so he's not here, but it was just a suggestion. But now, as Oviedo Park is progressing even further, installing that sidewalk along Mitchell Hammock, that fronts Mitchell Hammock, right now. You know, people walk on it all the time. You can see the rut in it. People are using it to walk back and forth, going places. You know, I know we're going to have to cut, but you know, getting that sidewalk in now before the cut, you know, isn't a big expense to incur now and to add on to, but getting that sidewalk in now rather than later.
You're talking about between Oviedo Boulevard and
Panera.
Panera. Entirely, yeah. Whatever that is.
Isn't there a streetscape plan coming for that? With the sign plan and the whole package from Mr. Kavanaugh and Dick Lathrop?
They're putting together a comprehensive sign package for Oviedo on the park. There are entrance features that are part of it, but I mean, they've always planned to have the sidewalk there as part of the development. And that's normally how it would work. The developer would put the sidewalk in as they develop the property. But I don't, the preliminary, there's pictures that I have seen, I don't remember seeing sidewalk
We
in
can work it all into one.
Possibly,
And,
you know.
get a donation into the sidewalk fund if we're going to do it, or just find out when they're going to do it.
Walkable ways, looking for a quick grant, walkable cities, blah, 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 something. That's a missing link that, you know. I said, come on, Don, you did so good helping us the last one.
Damn,
I
Bobby
like
left
it.
you in charge, and you get up here twice?
Bobby and I have discussed that link as a possible ad for an ad, and it was our discussion that we wanted to wait for the reason that we prefer to have a detail like Panera Bread has, where the sidewalk is on their property as part of an easement to give a larger separation between the pedestrians and the traffic on Mitchell Hammock, to allow the trees and barriers to be in between. There's a very narrow space. You'd have about a 5-foot gap between the back of curb and sidewalk on a roadway with 45-mile-an-hour speed limit. Our preference would be to back it onto a sidewalk easement. That's one of the primary reasons we have pursued it.
Maybe when their sign package and street sweeping starts to come through, that's when the conversation happens. Anything else?
Done.
Really? Wow, look at that, nice. Steve, you're up.
All right. Just a couple things. Councilman Britton, I sent an email out. I guess he compiled all of Brian's reviews that we all did. So I just wanted to get an idea, how do we close that out with Brian and formalize his lifetime contract? Great job, boss.
I spoke with Connie about that earlier, and I think I was going to address it in my report, too.
Okay, then I'll leave that for Councilman Britton. I just saw that, and, Brian, just a great job looking at the compiling of the info that Keith did. It's, phenomenal year, so great job there. All right, Keith, you'll take care of that. Wanted to just talk briefly about the dedication we did tonight. For most people that don't know, our superstation, fire station is going to be under construction. We put the shovels in the ground tonight. And, I heard a lot of thank yous out there tonight, a lot of people that were involved in that. But the one thing I missed, I was going to take the mic, but I figured I'd do it here. Chief White, this is just, I hope you're going to be here for many more years. But, you oversaw the one out on 419 is awesome. Tornado sirens, all these things to keep this city safe. And that building will no doubt save countless lives down the road. And, I just couldn't imagine that being done without you watching over it. The chief is one of the most humble people that you will ever meet, but just a dedicated servant. And, Chief, tonight was a good moment for you. And I'm proud of you, and I know we all are. So we can't wait to cut the ribbon. And you're not allowed to retire, as the mayor always said, so don't even think about it. But
actually, Gail yelled at me again tonight for saying that, but...
Well, at some point, everybody's going to retire, but Chief, your mark is firmly put here, and whenever you pass that building or the one on 419, Chief White had a huge hand in that, and he cares deeply about the city, and we care deeply about you. So don't get me emotional, Chief, but you're not allowed to retire. So great job.
And he saw all of this being built, too, amongst everything.
33 years, so hats off to you, boss. Good job. And that's all I have, Mr. Mayor. Good.
Don't worry, we're going to leave a big blank space above the door.
Oh, and I just on a lighter note, Drew, I just wanted to say one thing about Florida State. Jameis Winston, he experienced his first loss, but tell him to get used to it, because when he's the starting quarterback for the New York Jets, he's not going to win any more games either.
Tampa Bay could take him.
Well, they don't win any games either, so you better get used to losing.
That's true.
But those teams, he might lose 28 straight.
Is he going pro, Drew?
Yes, he is.
Is he going pro?
I'm hoping not. I think he's got one more year.
We'll see. Deputy Mayor? I'm sorry, we're talking football.
I hear that. Yes, it was a nice ceremony today, Chief White, and I think the building's going to be beautiful and really enhance our service to the citizens. I want to share just a short story with you about our fire department and what a great job they do and how much more I appreciate just having our own fire department here. Right before Christmas, our granddaughter, who is 18 months old, passed out and had a convulsion or a seizure. So she called 911, and of course our paramedics were there. She was very upset. She couldn't find her husband. He was out at practice with one of the other children. So she called me, upset, not knowing what to do. So I just says, go to the hospital and we'll meet you there. So then I realized I'm not sure where she's going. I'm not sure how the baby is. So one of our paramedics called and filled me in, said she was fine, she was awake then, and felt it was just a seizure from a high temperature. But it was very comforting for us to know that somebody took that time out to call me, just the grandmother, to let me know that she was fine, where she's going, how to get there, and really offered service to my daughter, helping her with one of the children, say, I'll stay here while your mother gets there. So I just want to tell you how much I appreciate that, and the service that our firemen and paramedics give us. It's very much appreciated. Yes, they did a great job. And really, that's all I have. We talked about the trucks, and Happy New Year, everyone.
There you go. Councilman Britton.
Okay, Happy New Year to everyone from me. Hope it's a good one. Let's make it a good one. Two quick announcements. One is I'll be at Calno on Wednesday for the first meeting of the year. And Lonnie, you're going to attend?
Yes.
Do you know the location?
No.
Okay, I'll send you that. It's in Altamont at their City Hall, but I'll send you the information. And just to let you know, I think we're going to have some discussions on the future of Calno, whether we want to go in a different direction. I would like to get a consensus of council of how they feel about continuing Calno or supporting a venue like Calno, if you're in support of it or not, so I can relay our council's opinion.
I have no problem if you guys want to get together as Calno or
Okay.
whatever other kind of group. It's nice when all the elected officials are able to get together and different elected officials are able to get together, just like we do with mayors and managers.
It is the only venue I have to go to in the evening to interact with people and other elected officials from other municipalities in the county and the school board and Seminole State. So it's valuable to me just from an informational standpoint, but there is some scuttlebutt that other agencies, other municipalities don't get that value out of it. So I just want to
You know what
make
I
sure that
think,
we're
Keith,
okay.
having sat on that Calno, I think it's important that some venue continues of it, but I think what might turn off some, at least when I sat there, was sometimes the agenda is not very interesting, or maybe things that somebody's not doing, so you may want to make it less formal. Maybe you get together for an hour, everybody, hey, what's going on in your city, and maybe you find some common ground there. Sometimes the formal agenda, I think that's kind of what turned off some people, but I think it's still important that everybody gets together, hey, what are you doing, what are you doing? They get some ideas, we give them some ideas, so I think maybe a little less formal might keep it afloat.
Okay, good data point.
You brought back a lot of good stuff from it, so I appreciate it.
Yeah, I've stolen stuff from Calno more times than I can remember, so that other municipalities are doing that we've implemented. So I do get some stuff out of it. Others may or may not. So we'll have that discussion on Wednesday. The other item is Mr. Cobb's evaluation. I compiled everyone's comments and did a little scoring. Brian, I think, and I think I put it in my email to the council, overwhelmingly we are in consensus that you're either meeting or exceeding our expectations, and probably, from my numbers, 97% of the items that we're evaluating you on. There's a few things that, and they were only one or two council persons had issues that they need improvement, and what I'm recommending is that we sit down with you individually and we could tell you if there are one or two items that we'd like to see you improve on. I don't see any of those as showstoppers, but for the most part, job well done, and I think you can take this as an endorsement from this council, because you really scored high in that evaluation, so congratulations.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
So, that's all I got.
Great, thank you. Yeah, now I'm looking at your email. Out of 81 meets, 72 exceeds. That's not too darn bad. Good job, Ryan.
It's the dedication of the directors and the staff than it is me. They make me look good.
It is a big team effort, and you lead the team well. Good job. Anything else, Councilman?
That's it. Thanks.
All right. A few quick things. Mr. Cobb, tonight we did the first reading for Central Florida Regional on the 6.5 acres, which are the 6.5 acres that are going to eventually allow us to connect them up to Oviedo Mall Boulevard, less that little missing link. How are we coming along with that missing link?
My understanding is that the survey is now completed, and I believe it's in the hands of the appraisers. That's
Okay.
I can follow up with Mr. Wyatt tomorrow. And see.
All right, could you, let's just make sure it's moving forward. That's
Yeah,
as you know, I'm not telling you anything you don't know. It's an important piece of their
Right.
puzzle.
Yes, we've been
that,
working.
we get that acquired.
We've been working closely with the property owner.
Okay. On Thursday for the chamber is the State of the City luncheon. So if
This
whoever-
Thursday?
This Thursday. It's over at the mall. Starts at luncheon. Usually kicks off around 11. Scheduled at 11:30. It'll be State of the City starts at 12ish, is what they told me. So Charles and I will be there, and we'll be extolling the virtues of Oviedo Springs. So it'll be fun.
Was it a two-man shootout, or what was the format that was determined?
No, it's going to be just like it was last year, like coffee and conversation. Everybody seemed to settle in on that being the preferred format with time for lots of questions. I personally like my PowerPoint, but, not my choice, not my event. There were many holiday events throughout December. I mean, they're too numerous to name, but Drew, Snow Mountain looked like it was a good success again. I don't think we've met since that's happened. The holiday parade looked like it had about 40 or 50 entries in it. Looked like there were thousands of people out along the line. Councilman Schenk did his best to litter the mall with confetti, and I think he succeeded. So thank goodness that's all biodegradable, and we didn't have that shiny plastic stuff this year that really annoyed them last year. Chief Santa around town, gigantic hit as usual. I talked to the GIS guys at the holiday luncheon for everybody, which was also a great event, very well attended. Everybody who put that together, the employee holiday luncheon, awesome job. But Chief White and I were talking with Levi, and they're going to put a Santa tracker perhaps on the fire truck next year. And folks can actually watch where the fire truck is going throughout the city. So let's not let that fall through the cracks, because Levi seemed to be not a big deal to do. He needed some piece of software in order to do it, and I think that would be pretty neat. It would stop all the tagging on Facebook of where is Santa Claus. So let's see if we can make that one happen and not fall through the cracks. Drew, you've got your Martin Luther King Day coming up, don't you? You want to come on up and extol the virtues of that one?
Mr. Mayor, while he's doing it, I had one I forgot
Sure, right
on Brian's evaluation. Since there's no contract issues that we need to address, I don't think there's any further action for us on his evaluation. We've evaluated him. We'll see him next year and go from there.
Okay.
Is that correct, Connie? Oh, I caught you. No. No further action on the evaluation? Okay.
Drew, tell us all about your big day, or the big day in the park coming up in
On the 19th.
just a couple of weeks, right?
Yes, sir. We are once again co-sponsoring, or the event is being sponsored, I should say, with the help of Oviedo Citizens Action. Oviedo Citizens Action will be sponsoring the parade, and then, of course, we will have the event in the park, and it's still being in the process of being planned, last few steps in it, and we're seeing, I don't know exactly where they're at with the parade, but pretty much the same route that we've done in the past, leaving from the high school, coming down 419 into the park, and then having the park event, and a lot of fun, a lot of
What time's the
activities.
parade start, 10 a.m.?
Yes, same time as usual. And
We'll
the
have a
event-
resolution for them to read in the park?
Yes, I do believe, I think Barbara already said it's ready.
Can we get
And,
multiple copies of it this time?
We can do that. and then the event follows the parade, usually around 11 o'clock.
Until
I think 3:30, 4 o'clock this year. A little
Great.
bit earlier.
have food out there and
Food,
all the
entertainment.
food trucks, the bounce house, the
Bounce
stage.
houses, entertainment, all kind of stuff.
Who's cooking this year?
Actually, we are doing, we're still cooking but we're doing hot dogs, and we're not doing hamburgers this year. We're doing hot dogs, and then we got the food trucks that are doing most of the cooking this year.
Okay. Is Lump going to be out there with his big grill?
He always comes out, yes.
There you go. I look forward to that.
Of
That's
course.
great. Does anybody have any questions on the event? Oh, prayer breakfast. That's this Saturday, is it?
It's this coming Saturday.
At Memorial Building?
Memorial Building.
9 a.m.?
I believe it's 9 a.m.
Prayer breakfast at 9 a.m. All righty, Drew, thank you.
Yes, sir.
Oh, wait. No, come back. You got another event. As everybody knows, they can see the progress coming along on Oviedo on the Park. The amphitheater, the park itself is really, really starting to take shape, Drew. And,
Yes, sir.
Kudos to everybody who is involved out there. When you go out and you walk, you can truly see all the amenities starting to come together. And I believe I saw an email come out about a community ribbon cutting in mid-May. Do you have some details you want to share, or?
Yeah, what we have planned right now is we were going to do a soft opening ribbon cutting April the 11th, and then our grand event will be May the 16th, which will be entertainment, rededicating the building, so to speak, with council, cutting a ribbon, and then doing tours of the facility and stuff like that, but having music, activities in the park all day. It'll be
So that's going to be an all-day event for the whole entire community, music on the stage all day. Now, I know there was talk of putting together jazz and wine for the evening. Are we still sort of
doing
kind
a
of
little
working?
bit? Yeah, we're doing a lot of different planning for that event. Right now, we're just still in the preliminary stages of the entertainment and stuff like that. But we're trying to put together, we're probably going to have a different genre of different musics out there throughout the day and that type of thing.
Right, and I think at one point there was discussion of making the evening more adult themed.
Oh, yes.
So is that still the
Yes, still being planned.
the plan? Have all
Throughout the
kids'
first part of the
activities
day,
during the
there'll be
day?
kids' activity and stuff like that, and then more adult-oriented during the evening hours.
Great. Does council have any questions on that event? I'm sorry, I kind of overtook it there. All righty. Drew, that is awesome, and like I said, great job out there.
And if anybody wants to tour of the facilities, it is coming along.
Flat Stanley and I just go out and take a tour anytime we want, so.
I understand.
I'm only teasing. Thanks, Drew. All righty. That is the end of my report. Anybody have anything else that we missed?
Just
Any other?
about the fire dedication today, the groundbreaking. Just a big shout out to Bill Starmer and all the work he's done. It was great seeing him there today, but I know he's done so much work above and beyond for us that it's truly appreciative.
That's going to be a nice building.
It is.
The pool, the sauna, Yeah. Don't worry, Dale, you guys can go over there and visit it all. Oh, boy. All righty, future meeting dates. We have Tuesday, January 20, 6:30 p.m. These are all regular sessions. Monday, February 2nd, and Monday, February 16th, again, 6:30 p.m. regular sessions. Any other business before the council? Mr. Cobb, anything? Mr. Groot?
Yes, sir.
We are good. Meeting adjourned.